Welcome to all on the Be a Man series. In this talk show, we are going to talk and create a global voice and campaign by hearing from our speaker that how are they giving meaning in their life and the meaning of being a man. So let's join hands together to talk openly and redefine what is the meaning of be a man. Welcome and hear from our today's speaker, Dr. Kyle. He has done his MB, MBA, MP, MPA, MS, and many more. He's a regional director, the Alpha Group, and he's chief medical director of Just Pharma. He's originally from Dallas, Texas, United States, and medical director of Oscar Health, and many more. So we would hear from him about his career, about his success, and along with that, we will hear about his life journey, and we will be ready to get inspired and motivate from his life, his career journey. So welcome, Dr. Kyle, on this platform. And it is such a great pleasure that you are joining us today.
Thank you, Dr. Shashi. It's a pleasure to be here and talk to you, learn a little bit more about you, and as well as hopefully inspire a few people out there.
Thank you. So as I was talking about, you have done a lot of work and you are, have a lot of education. You are running a lot of businesses. So before coming to your career journey, let's start hearing about your early life, your growing up challenges. So please share with us.
Sure. My parents were both in the medical profession. My mother was a dietitian, so really focusing on wellness, healthy eating along those lines. And my father was a veterinarian, so medical, but all things animal, correct? They were both in the military, so we moved around quite a bit. There was a stretch of time where I was in a new school for about every or over a 6-year span. I went to 6 different schools. So it really taught me adaptability and how to get used to situations and being in uncomfortable new situations and how to deal with that at a young age. Mm-hmm. So after that, went on to the military academy called West Point. And that's one of the real top leadership schools in the entire world. And it's usually ranked at the very top up there with Harvard, Yale, Princeton, you name it. They're all competing for that same top spot every year. So that's really what launched me into where I am these days. That was a little bit about my early life.
Wonderful. And I think the way you shared about your changing every year in 6 years of a span of time, the different school, but adaptability, the interaction, and that's the same time, I believe, leadership qualities as well, because when you are interacting each moment, different friends, or we try to develop, even I can say friendship, each year, new friends. So that's a lot of effort, a lot of things when you are talking about these moments. And listening to your experiences is really making me learn so much. So how did you use your, when you are talking about changing each year? So how did you use to express your feelings when you were a child? Because as you mentioned, every year you are changing your environment, your setting, not just because you want, but because of the family, work culture or settings. So was it like every child having all kind of emotion, crying, sad, emotional, excited, happy? Or we can say, as you were talking about this military culture, so it's like typical man who's controlling their fears, their tears, and showing the boldness, being a tough kind of things. What was kind of your early age experiences?
It probably transitioned over those years. So the first couple of years, I do remember being, sad and missing my friends, and I think those are normal feelings for anyone that has a loss. Even if it's not your own fault, if you're moving away or if someone dies, that you have that loss and that feeling. But as it became, as I dealt with it more often, I became more comfortable in that setting. And also with as technology advanced as well, I was better able to keep in touch with my friends as well. So that was kind of when I first started getting I remember I got my first email account, and soon thereafter there was some social media. So it was really able to keep in touch with those friends despite the physical distances.
Mhm. I think that's beautiful the way you said that's how you develop those mechanism, or how these technologies help you to keep those connection while balancing your emotion, I can say. Because oftentimes, especially when we are talking in current scenario, I think this technology is a great savior for all of us. In many ways, we are able to connect with our family and friends and run our work and all. So when we are talking all about your emotions and balancing those, as a child, you have those friendship, the connection, the feelings, and you might feel sometimes sad or happy. Those, but when we are talking about how you find these emotions are like having a female, maybe mother or maybe
Sure.
a grandmother or sister or wife in your life, also help you to understand those emotions as well.
For sure. So early on, it was my father, my mother, and my brother. So the only real female figure was my mom, and she was also in the military as well. So admittedly, we were probably more of a traditional masculine um, upbringing.
Right.
But then
Right.
as life progressed, you get married. I have two kids; they're both girls now. So it's the other way around. I'm the only boy in the house. So it's really um, changed the dynamic there, and I've had to reevaluate how not only I interact with my loved ones, but take those interactions, the EQ, emotional quotient, if you will, and understanding those dynamic engagements with other people, and then even I guess even more interesting now as so when I was growing up, there were boy things and girl things, and then now that's really blurred. So there's the advent, or at least the better recognition and understanding of non-binary personalities, and
Right.
I have friends and colleagues and that fall into those categories, and it's been real eye-opening for me to learn about and respect those people in my life. So I think it's cognizant on each person to really expand our understanding, at least be open to interacting and understanding other people's viewpoints, because we all come from a different place in life.
Right. Right. And I think the way you bring this point about how you develop those dynamics, whereas you grew up in such a military environment, but while having your further life, getting married, having two daughters. So those kind of emotional quotient, or I could say the EQ development, the balancing, the factor, even though having all friends from binary and all backgrounds. So when we are talking about it, what way when we talk of all about these learning and those kind of life learning by having those all females in our life, mother where she was military person as a so-called masculine we are talking about, and whereas now these very young daughter, I believe, how you see how what ways you find in yourself the changes.
There there's an emotional side, but then there's which I'll hit first, but there's also a physical change side that we could actually talk about as well. On the emotional side, it's just for
Mm-hmm.
me personally, understanding, and it's there. I mean, there are some differences obviously between boys and girls, but then
Right.
there's also just taking the individual. Like some boys will be more feminine than other boys. Some girls will be more masculine than other girls. So it's
Right.
also taking that
Mm-hmm.
understanding of the individual. So my girls are both. One's more like I would call a tomboy, so she likes doing more outdoor stuff. We'll go out camping and building fires and enjoying more rigorous things, and the other one is more of a likes to play with dolls and draw and a little bit more on that side. So I have to, even within my own household, treat my two daughters differently and interact with them differently. So it's just
Right.
understanding that each person is different, and respecting how he or she wants to be treated. interesting enough, as a father and for males, when we do have children, there is a measurable decrease in physiology and testosterone levels as well. So the hypothesis behind that is, so early on, you're the hunter gatherer. You're going out there to find your partner, start a family, and then when you do have those children, those aggressive behaviors are not as needed anymore. So the physiological drop in testosterone also builds more nurturing and a softer interaction engagement with the family.
I think those physiological changes you brought on this point, those are very crucial to understand, because when we are talking about these always masculine and feminine qualities and capabilities, and not only in particular gender, because I believe we just try to segregate masculine like male and feminine like female, but whereas, as you mentioned in a very beautiful example of your own daughters, like this is own independent behavior and nature. And if we understand and respect, I think each one of us, we can grow the way we want, whereas bringing those hormone and these physiology changes as well. But same time, I would like to just ask you, in current scenario, we understand these, we have those research, we know, but growing those violent cases and those crimes, what brings you in your mind, why it keeps happening? Because one side we know that this is something, and we are already have enough resources to understand, we have enough research to understand this is not about particular putting in a category as a female means feminine only. No, because on the name of women empowerment, you put them in construction, you put them in military, you put them in everywhere, right? Whereas we always try to categorize masculine, feminine, but they are doing every performance. Why, when we are talking about crime or so much violent things, are there is still any imbalance in the perspective of we are talking about male, that we are taking them, or we are biased and discriminating, that giving them understanding that they also can have those all abilities, or what exactly?
And in regards to crime, are you speaking about violent crime or crime against like gender-based crimes?
It's more about crime against gender, because when we are talking about this masculine and feminine, right? So these masculine drive, and those are more related to like, okay, yes, I'm male, I'm so and so, and those crime keep happening, right? So why it is? Because we already are talking about like, okay, as a female, they have developed all those masculine abilities. They are doing all work, whether it is we categorize as a very hard work, or very masculine abilities related. But why it is it's still segregation, or why it is there is a gap in male, especially when we are talking in gender of male?
That's interesting. I'll be the first to say I'm not a crime expert, so I don't know all the details, but it is.
No, but I thought like as as your medical doctor, and we are talking their physiology, and we are talking about their hormone levels. We are aware that at a certain level, certain age, we develop our more holistic, we develop our more emotion quotient, whereas these physiological change due to physiological changes, but it's rising those crimes, especially that's male drive or male gender related. What brings you in your mind? What do you think?
So I think there's I mean, there's definitely issues in my country, as well as we speak Spanish at home, so very aligned, and have a lot of family in Latin America as well, and there's still a very like machista, male-oriented, male-dominated society. I think part of the issue is that some males feel that they are losing either status or being threatened somehow by women having equality or wanting equality, and in the pay scale and positions. So I think that's a big component of it. Maybe some men, that's their only way that they can show some sort of or feel powerful or dominant in a very unhealthy way, unfortunately. And it's not funny, but to me, it's just funny that someone would think that that's an appropriate way to show dominance. Very, very, very unfortunate. And then you get these really weird arguments as well for, if I can, switching a little bit from crime to business, if that's right with you, about empowering women to not, again, women aren't, and every woman I've ever worked with, they're not asking to be better than anybody else. They want to be equal. I 100% support that. And it's funny, some of the arguments like, well, if a woman was president, her emotions would go everywhere and she'd start a war. And I'm like, well, haven't all wars really been started by men? Like, you ever think about it like that? They're like, well, yeah, kind of, actually. So there's no, just that in my opinion, the reasoning just doesn't, hold water. So it's really important to address those issues, both on the crime side, but something more positive on improving women's position and ability to take part in business, in professions, and remove those glass ceilings and really strive for equality. Women can't just do it by themselves. You have to have guys who are willing to stand up with women to say, you know what, this is really right. This needs to happen.
Right. Yeah, I think that's very strong point and a strong statement you said, that there are many women, male, and they stand what is right. And I think we have to develop that. So when we are talking about it, you are running a lot of businesses, and how you develop that, environment or feeling, if may I ask you that question?
Could you repeat the question, please?
So when we are talking about it, you mentioned, many men, those understand that this is the right, and they stand behind with the females or those women, whether it's in terms of business or professional growth or whatever. You are running a lot of businesses. You are a director, and you must be encountering a lot of colleague and employees around you. How you develop that culture in your work environment?
So I'll give a couple of examples. So in Oscar Health, where I'm a medical director, and we just went public on the New York Stock Exchange last week at $7.6 billion US valuation. So we're really excited about that.
Wow, congratulations.
But really, I mean, we're just continuing to grow, and part of that is ensuring that as we grow, our workforce resembles our communities, within the country, and those, as well as the populations that we serve. So traditionally, and so it's a health focused area and a tech focus, is also traditionally white and male, right? Just to put it out there. So we go above and beyond just to make sure that not only are minorities across the board representative, but we make sure we have equal numbers of men and women as well within our positions. So we do our absolute best. I'm sure there are things we can do better. We do our absolute best to make sure that we have that, I wouldn't even say adequate, that equal female representation within our ranks. From a startup perspective, also, again, a traditionally male endeavor, I really make sure that those startups that I'm either helping to advise or that I'm supporting as an angel investor, I really work on ensuring my portfolio has well represented number of female founders as well, supporting that female initiative as well.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. And the approach you are taking, and not only developing your business and portfolio, but having those conscious mindset while working with others, and having that mindset, yes, I should give opportunity, I should work with those females as well. And it sounds to me very inspiring and motivating, especially because in current scenario when we are hearing, it's very important to have such kind of person who really have conscious mindset like you. So when you are talking all about it, how you define be a man meaning or definition? Because when we see dictionary, you know what it shows us, but whereas we are on this platform and we are creating our own meaning by our own learning, our life experiences. So from your life experiences, from your understanding, how you define it?
What be a man? Off the top of my head, I would say being a man is the ability to feel comfortable with one's strengths and ability to give back to society, while also understanding one's weaknesses and supporting those around you who can better fill those areas. So I just think it's understanding myself, my limitations, where I can give back, but also where I do have those limitations, having the ability to admit that and feel secure enough to bring on people who can fill those voids.
I think that's very powerful, and I hope in future when your daughter will be listening this recording, they will be feeling that's inspired and same time secure in same way like we are creating for our future generations. So when we are talking about it, being in your present position in your life with your career, success, family, and all, you are really changing and you are really defining the meaning of BeAMan for your life as an individual. But when we talk about this society and our culture, it's very much in media, it's macho, body build-up, and this kind of presentation is very much prominent. And it many times it's not wrong, but same time it gives one side direction to our young generation. Whereas whether we are talking about any leader or any profession, they develop that mindset that they need to hide their emotions. That because if they are showing emotion means weakness. How we can develop that consciousness, and what kind of message would you like to give to this coming young generation who are listening and watching us?
Sure. So I would, especially in my professions as a physician in business and military, there are times when you can't show your emotions all the time, and that goes for a lot of people. For example, if I'm in the middle of saving someone's life who's about to die, you don't want me sitting there crying and biting my nails, right? So you do need to have that ability to compartmentalize, but which I think is what the traditional macho man, hide your feelings, all this, that's a compartmentalization.
Right.
However, there needs to be a time when you can relax and let that compartment open and release those emotions. And I think that's the real issue as a society that we haven't really addressed, and we're just starting to now. You see this with the rise in mental health issues, suicides, violent crimes here in the U.S. as well. A lot of that has to deal with behavioral health issues that could and should have been treated, but because there's a negative stigma, we're not adequately supporting our communities to do so. As far as be a man for the new generations, younger generations, I don't think anyone would have an argument that a traditional man has to be able to take care of his family, to include the females in his life. So your wife, your kids, in some cultures, your mother, your grandmother. Take that on a community scale now. you have your family, and now you have your community. Support those women in your community. Help businesses grow. It could be as simple as liking or on LinkedIn, or forwarding, some really great news that some female entrepreneur in your community is doing that costs you absolutely nothing, 2 seconds of your time. And then maybe even go further if you have someone that you can team up with, work with. Those are ways to be a man and at the community level. So you just take that idea from the family level, bump it up to the community level, and it's the exact same thing. That would be what I would want to leave this next generation with.
Yeah, I think that's very educating, and same time the way you explain how they can have this comprehensive approach, not only for self or individual level, but how they can transform this approach in community and wider level. And that's really effective, I believe, if the people can follow and can do so. So this is really inspiring and motivating for, I think, for young lives, and especially I believe it's really motivating for me and learning so much from by listening to you. Last but not least, what message would you like to give, or would you like to tell to other speakers, our future speakers, or our audience about this platform? How you feel this about this platform?
Yes, so I really thank anyone who's watching this or who will watch this for your time, and I hope you've learned one or two things. I'd be happy for anybody to reach out and see where there's future collaborations afterwards. For those who are thinking about coming on as a speaker, yeah, if there's a way for you to, again, give back, no money cost, just a little bit of your time, a little bit of your knowledge, and you can make a really big difference, expounded around the world just based on social media and the ability for this to get to everyone in the world. So I really support the cause, and I'm really glad that you invited me to be on Dr. Shashi.
Thank you, Dr. Kyle, and thanks a lot for such a beautiful word. And I really want to thanks for your time, for your appreciation, and for accepting our request to be on this platform. I am really glad that you was able to make it. So thank you so much, and thanks to all our viewers for becoming part of our show and part of our this process by listening and watching and joining us to create meaning of Be a Man. See you in the next episode. Until then, keep creating a better self and better society. Bye bye.